Now, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa says the country wants to transform the electricity sector fundamentally. He was given a special national address to address the country's energy issues. South Africa has been experiencing regular power outages known as load shedding for the past 2 months. Load shedding began several years ago and is currently caused by a generation capacity shortage. While Ramaphosa admitted a national electricity crisis, he said there's no need to declare a national state of disaster.
Eskom has to implement load shedding to prevent the electricity grid from collapsing and to ensure that we never experience a complete blackout throughout the country. The factors that led to the latest load shedding included a number of unit breakdowns at some power stations. We also experienced damage to the transmission line from Cahora Bassa in Mozambique, where we procure part of our electricity, and there were also instances reported of deliberate damage to equipment. Teams within Eskom have worked very hard to bring generation units back online and to stabilize the national grid. As a result of their efforts, the system outlook has improved over the past week. The agreement that was reached between Eskom and unions has allowed critical repairs to the units that had broken down to be undertaken and normal electricity generation operations to resume.
Well, joining me now is South African journalist and editor Dianne Hawker. Dianne, good to see you and thanks for your time. Now, it's a crisis, but not a disaster. President Ramaphosa has promised to add new capacity to the grid, urgently so. Let us in about some of the most critical elements of the plan he's got for the country.
Yes, absolutely, Suleiman, a crisis, but the president says it's not a state of disaster. This was basically a response to a call that's been made by the leader of the official opposition, John Steenhuisen, who earlier today had his own press conference, and he actually said that government should declare a state of disaster regarding this electricity situation. Basically, a state of disaster would allow government, if it wanted to access some emergency funding and also create some mechanisms to move things forward more swiftly. But the president's saying in his speech, a 9-page address, that there are enough interventions that there's no need for a state of disaster. These interventions include adding some solar power generation, excuse me, clearing some of Eskom's debt, which has been a big concern for the power utility, as well as allowing independent power producers to sign on and supply energy to Eskom in a much more easy manner.
You know, the president actually said something about, purchasing energy from other countries. Expatiate for us, if you will, what the president meant by that.
Yes, absolutely. In the past, South Africa has been, one of the main suppliers of electricity to our neighboring countries. And unfortunately, our ongoing power crisis has actually meant that we are now going to our neighboring countries, Botswana and Zambia, to request that they supply us with electricity. So a bit of an unusual situation for South Africa to find itself in, considering that in the past it has been the supplier to the other countries. Quite a comprehensive plan that was delivered by the president, 9 pages with quite a lot of different aspects to it, dealing with independent power producers, solar power, ensuring that Eskom gets its house in order by providing them with more money to conduct maintenance, as well as more funds available to deal with some of their debt. So a lot of issues that would need to be unpacked, in the coming weeks.
Now, what's been the initial reaction of South Africans to the president's address?
Well, the initial reaction from some political leaders, such as, well-known unionist Zwelinzima Mafabi, has been to question whether the president's plan is really presenting anything new. We've heard some of these promises over the past few months coming from different sectors, whether it be Eskom, the Minister of Public Enterprises, Pravin Gordhan, or the Minister of Energy. I suppose the one difference that we're seeing here, Suleiman, is that the different elements that we've been hearing from different parties have now almost been collected into one central address or one central plan. And one thing that is new is that the president announced that he would like to have a special energy committee set up that would report directly to him and give updates, and that committee would consist of sort of role players from different sectors, not only representatives from Eskom.
Well, there's been some big news coming out of South Africa. Let's jump on the other one, if you don't mind, and it has to do with the appointment of Mandisa Meyer as Deputy Chief Justice. Is there any significance to her emergence?
Oh, yes, definitely. I would say that, it's quite a significant victory for women in the judicial system and in the legal system. Justice Mandisa Meyer has long been an advocate for ensuring that women are able to progress to the upper echelons of the judiciary. She was the first woman, as you mentioned in your intro, to serve as the head of the Supreme Court of Appeal. But in her time there also, one would say that she has a record of having helped other women and elevated other women to that court as well. So not someone who has gone alone and left others behind, but has brought other women with her in the progress. And when she was being interviewed for the position of Deputy Chief Justice and previously for the position of Chief Justice, she spoke quite extensively about how, in her judicial work, even though she is on the side of being a jurist, is impartial when it comes to trying to transform the judiciary. She will never be someone who would, take a step back or be impartial. She believes that there is a need for the judiciary to be transformed, for women to get those higher positions. So I think it will be something that will inspire a lot of people in the profession, of the legal profession, to kind of reach to higher levels.
Well, no doubt that inspiration will help the continent, young ladies, especially the Africans in diaspora. We've seen that first in America and now getting to see in South Africa. Help us here before you go. Who is Justice Meyer and what will she bring to her role?
Well, Suleiman, Justice Meyer has quite a strong history as an administrator, having worked at the Supreme Court of Appeal. As a Chief Justice or a Deputy Chief Justice, you're not only someone who's dealing with court cases, but you're actually dealing with the administration of the court process. You're running, so she will be along with the Chief Justice running the office of the Chief Justice, and all the judges in the country fall under that office of the Chief Justice. We also know that the current Chief Justice, Raymond Zondo, only has about 2 years left of his career. So there's a very high likelihood that she would actually be the next in line to take up that top position as Chief Justice, because she did apply for it previously, but lost out to Justice Raymond Zondo. So she brings that administrative capacity. She brings a lot of, support from different sectors of the legal community. And she's also a very strong jurist who hasn't been afraid to do things like to experiment with writing judgments in different languages. She was one of the first judges who chose to write a full judgment in isiXhosa, one of South Africa's indigenous languages. And she said that, she wanted to make sure that she made a contribution to South Africa's jurisprudence by doing something different and unusual like that.
Well, I'd like to thank you very much for your time, Dianne Hawker.